The Atlanta Braves take down the Philadelphia Phillies 6-1, thanks to Spencer Schwellenbach's dominance and the first grand slam of the season from Sean Murphy. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That is Jake Mastroianni, the hat-wearing Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Catch him on social media at shortstopball. And Jake, a lot to get to in Atlanta's 6-1 victory over Philly. I want to touch on the offense, on the grand slam, on some of the struggles we saw before that. But it feels like this game, you have to start with Spencer Schwellenbach. We've talked before on here about how he is capable of being different kinds of pitchers, right? He can be that guy that gets a lot of ground balls, gets through an inning quickly and stacks up innings, or he can be that guy that prioritizes the swing and miss and just racks up the strikeouts. And today, he did both. He goes 7 innings, 1 run on 3 hits, 1 walk to 12 strikeouts, and arguably probably could have gone back out if they wanted to let him pitch in the 8th because he was only at 90 pitches. After what happened last night, where we wisely decided to skip the postcast, and thank you to everybody who reached out and recommended and said, hey, you guys don't have to do one. It's okay. How big was it to get this Schwellenbach start tonight?
I mean, it's huge. Look, you're on a 3-game losing streak. You get embarrassed on Friday night, and it really helps when you got your best pitcher going, or at least your best healthy pitcher now with Chris Sale down. Spencer Schwellenbach is clearly your ace at the moment, and for him to come out and have a performance like this after getting embarrassed the night before, you had to have it. And it looked like maybe it might not even be enough early on with the Braves wasting some chances. I know we'll get to, but it shows you he's an ace. I mean, I think that was a question for a lot of people coming into this year. You saw what he did last season, and you thought, okay, maybe it's a fresh, coming in, fresh arm. League hasn't adjusted to him yet. And then he comes back out this year's first 2 starts. I mean, he looks like a Cy Young winner. Then he hits a little bit of a bump in the road, and you're thinking, okay, here comes the sophomore slump. Well, he's fixed that, and now he has established himself, I think, as an ace in this game. He is that good, and he was just dominant on this night. And you talk about being able to do it in different ways. I mean, we've seen games before where it's 40 to 50% four-seam fastball because the fastball has been that good. And this game, he throws it 17 times. And it's not like the velo wasn't there. He maxed out at 99. And this one, he averaged 97 with it. It was a good fastball. In fact, his last pitch of the night,
a tiny little bit over everything else.
Yeah, and last pitch of the night, he gets a strikeout at 98 at the top of the zone. So, I mean, the fastball was there, and he certainly had a good one. But I think, and maybe this is Sean Murphy, and again, this is not anything against Drake Baldwin. I just think Sean Murphy calls a better game. Yeah. But I just think you saw something early on with these Phillies hitters that maybe they were looking for that fastball because they know how good it's been for Schwellenbach in this stretch. And so he was going to that slider, that splitter at the bottom of the zone and just getting a ton of swings on it. Now, they did adjust to it that third time through the order. You saw them start to lay off those pitches a little bit more. But, hey, then like I said, you bust them with 98 up and you still got something else that you can go with. So I thought it was a great game behind the plate by Murphy. I thought it was great execution by Spencer Schwellenbach. Those sliders were deadly. The splitter was deadly. And it just shows you, I mean, he has so much that he can go to, so many ways that he can beat you, like you said early on. And it's what, again, bringing it full circle. That's why I think he's an ace.
Yeah. I mean, it was like 2 righties, sinker, slider, 4-seamer. And he sprinkled everything else in there. But to lefties, 4-seam, slider, curveball. And the big thing to me is we've seen the games where he had to just lean on that splitter, lean on the fastball and the splitter, which that's a great combo. But what I'm kind of heartened about here is that it feels like he's not having to beat the same team the same way every time. When it's these divisional opponents, I do think having a guy like this that can be flexible, I do think that matters in divisional games because we saw Zach Wheeler, 37 times last year? He has enough pitches where he can keep changing what he did and getting guys out. Schwellenbach feels in that same vein. And it's the thing that Max Fried always did, where he had a lot of different things he could do to get you out. And you feel like it gives you sustainability over a long season. And then in the postseason, it gives you enough weapons where if something's not there, you can adjust. I love Spencer Strider. One of the downsides of doing kind of the way that he does it, where he's throwing fastball, slider 90% of the time, is if either one of those pitches isn't there or the opposing team has a really good game plan like Philly did in 23 in the postseason, it really minimizes your effectiveness because you can't go to other things. And Schwellenbach just really was able to kind of, he has so many different options. I want to get your opinion. It's easy to say now that it was a smart idea, but the decision to go with Iglesias to start the 8th versus letting Schwellenbach go back out there, you had the number 8, number 9 hitters due up. I think at the time, Otto Kemp was 0 for 2 maybe. Brandon Marsh was 1 for 2 with a run scored. And then Turner was hitless with 2 strikeouts. But letting Schwellenbach go back out there and go batter by batter versus giving Iglesias a clean inning. In retrospect, there's no issue giving Iglesias a clean inning, but was that the right move, or do you push it a little bit farther?
No, it's not the right move. In my opinion, if I'm the manager, and I'm not anywhere close to being a big league manager, there is nobody coming out of that bullpen, with the exception of maybe Dylan Lee, that I trust in a 1-run game. And like you said, it ended up not being a 1-run game, so it ultimately was a good decision.
Yeah.
But we're talking hypothetical. Had it stayed a 1-run game, there's no way I'm not sending Spencer Schwellenbach back out there. I just told you, his last pitch of the night was 98 at the top of the zone for a strikeout. It felt like he still had plenty in there. I know he had the 1 inning in the 6th where he scuffled a little bit, but he bounced right back with a good 7th. I mean, he still had good stuff in his tank. And like you said, it was 8-9-1 coming up. You want to send him back out there and go pitcher by pitcher? Way I would have done it. I would have sent him back out there and gone batter by batter, and I would have had Dylan Lee ready. It's the top of the order. That is the ball game. You thinking new school version and just taking closer out of it. What's your high leverage spot? It's when that top of the order comes up. So I know that means you still got to get somebody to get you through the 9th inning, but I'm bringing out Dylan Lee if there's any type of traffic for the top of the order. That's the way I would have managed it had it been a 1-run game. We know Snicker doesn't manage that way. You have an 8th inning guy, you have a 9th inning guy, and that's the way that it is. But I would have completely disagreed if it were still a 1-run game and he sent Iggy out there and didn't send Schwellenbach back out.
Yeah, and that's one of those, like, in retrospect, we're all going to yell, why did you do that if Iggy comes out in a 1-run game and ends up giving up the lead? Like we've seen so many times this year. It seemed a little interesting to me, but I can see, especially when you get the grand slam and it becomes 6-1, it's a lot more defensible to be like, we're going to go ahead and stick with this. To your point on Schwelly's velocity, though, at the end, unlike a lot of pitchers, like he wasn't empty in the tank. He expected to go back out for the 7th. You didn't see the conversation between Snit and Schwelly until in the dugout. And Snit gives him the handshake and pats him on the arm and stuff. And that's when Schwelly realized he was coming out. So he had plenty left in the tank, to your point. All right. I want to talk about the offense, the grand slam, obviously, but there was also some things I really didn't love in this game, namely most of the early part of the game before that grand slam happened. We'll get to that next, right here on the Braves Postcast. Okay, we've all been there. You're logging on early. You're waiting forever to see if, like, when these concert tickets go on sale and if you can get one, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories and enjoying the experience, not dealing with the stress of buying tickets. That's a great situation where Game Time comes in, because Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. And if you don't want to scroll through to pick an individual seat, Game Time's Zone Deals picks the best seat in your section, the one where you want to sit for you. And it even shows you a panoramic seat view so you can figure out what you will be looking at when you get to the venue. So take the guesswork out of buying any sort of tickets, concert, baseball, whatever it might be, with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Okay, Jake. So Braves get 6 runs on 13 hits. Obviously, 4 of them come via that 7th inning grand slam. But going into that 7th inning, it was very, very frustrating to see how many opportunities Atlanta had to score and couldn't get them done. They pick up a run in the first. They got back-to-back singles from Acuna and Olsen. And then Marcell Ozuna strikes out looking. We've talked about that quite a bit. Riley just absolutely destroys a baseball to left to second base at 44 miles an hour. They get the run out of that, but that's it. Second inning, similar situation. Eli White walks, Stuart Fairchild doubles, so it's runners on second and third, and just a terrible send at third base. And I posted the video and the still shot on social media, again, at Crosby Baseball, if you're not following. They have the ball. The right fielder, left fielder has the ball, and Fairchild's not at third base yet. Like, I understand he's fast, but not done. Anyway, Atlanta ends up only scoring 1 in the inning. And it just felt like there was too many opportunities to score runs that they dropped. And the most egregious one was probably the 5th inning.
Yeah, I mean, look, as soon as that ball bounces over the fence, as a Braves fan, unfortunately, with the way this season has gone, my immediate thought is we're not scoring. And that it's sad that you have that thought. But when that happens, because Ronald likely scores from first on that. So, immediately right there, you're getting a run taken away. But it's just the at-bats that Ozuna's had with runners in scoring position. Nobody on. Maybe you should bat him leadoff. We talked about that earlier in the year, I think, before Ronald came back. Runners on. I don't know what Ozuna is doing up there. And then Riley, he just looks so lost. I still don't know. I get it's a lefty starter. I still don't know why Ozzy's batting 5th. I don't care, righty, lefty. He does not deserve to be up. It's got to either be Baldwin or Murphy in that 5th spot. Maybe they should even be ahead of Ozuna and Riley. It's just that cannot happen. It can't happen. Yeah. You get second and third, nobody out for your 3, 4, and 5 hitters. And it's not just that you don't score. It's a 1-pitch check swing back to the pitcher. It's a 4-pitch strikeout. It's a 1-pitch ground ball to third base. Look at the pretty good play by Bone, but still just a frustrating at bat. You got the pitchers on the rope for your 3, 4, 5 hitters, and he's out of it on 6 pitches with nobody scoring. It is just, again, Murphy saved us from, I guess we're really still talking about it anyway, but Murphy saved this from being just a completely frustrating night offensively, because the first half of this game, I mean, really outside of this grand slam, was just completely frustrating, because even in the innings where they scored runs early on, they should have had more. I mean, after that 5th inning, it should have been at least a 4-0 game, and instead the Phillies are able to push one across, and next thing you know, it's a 1-run game. It's inexcusable, and it's inexcusable to be happening to Riley, Ozuna, Albies. I mean, those 3 guys, Acuna and Olsen, are doing all they can at the top of the order. Those guys have got to step up. We can talk about the injuries to the starting pitching and some of the struggles they've had there lately. But if Riley, Ozuna, and Albies don't step up, and a lot of focus has been on Michael Harris, but I don't think enough attention's been on Riley, Ozuna, and Albies too, and how bad they have been, particularly here lately for Riley and Ozuna. It is just, it's inexcusable. That cannot happen. You got to get at least 1 out of that. And in one of those innings, 1st, 2nd, 5th inning, you got to put up multiple runs and put the game away. And they just couldn't do that.
Feels like that's the difference in the 23 offense and this offense. Is that had been a 4-run game after the 2nd inning, and you just cruise from that point on. I was talking with Eric Slaughter from 92.9 The Game during the game. It's hard to say game twice in there. And he was asking about some of those high strikes that we saw. Ronald gets called out looking on a high strike, and we saw Snit bark a little bit after one of the strikeouts. Was it as egregious as it seemed to be? And should there have been more of a reaction from the Braves dugout when it kept happening multiple times? I think we saw Riley get called out on a high strike once. Ronald get called out on a high strike. Obviously, he's good with fastballs. He's good with pitches up in the zone. Am I wrong for thinking that they weren't responding maybe as strongly as they should have at these high strikes that they were getting the calls on?
Look, you take the box away, And it looks like a ball, especially when you see the catcher have to move his glove up. The catcher who already has a high target and then has to move up. Usually that's not going to get you the call. Phillies hitters weren't really happy with some of the pitches too that were inside the box. And so if you're taking that box as what it is, and it's the actual strike zone, umpire actually called a great game because all of those pitches for the most part were at least touching the box. But again, you take that visual away and you just see the catcher who's already set up high and then has to reach up to catch it. I just don't know how visually as an umpire you could call that a strike, but it's a close pitch. I mean, with 2 strikes, I think you probably have to go. And Smoltz talked about this during the broadcast. If you go to the ABS system, you're probably gonna have to lower that strike zone because I mean, that's above the hands. Again, it's a tough pitch, but Phillies hitters seem to be pretty frustrated with the calls too. But again, just looking at the box, a lot of those pitches that they didn't like, they were technically in the box. So I don't know that there's much of a gripe, but it was good at least see Snicker say something. So many fans get upset that he just sits over there with a blank stare. It was a close pitch for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, technically, I think they're going to go to the challenge system first, which makes a lot more sense, right? You can just fix it if it's an egregious call there. Last thing I want to get to is we saw some outfield shuffling in this one. Fairchild starts, White starts in center field. Fairchild had 2 doubles last night, had a double again tonight, and then Fairchild gets lifted for Alex Verdugo on a pinch hit situation. And then they end up having to put Michael Harris into center field for defense and move Eli White to left. I guess first thing is I'm glad Michael Harris got the night off from at least having to bat. He's now started all but 2 games this year, but in both of them, he's been inserted in the game late. Against the Dodgers, he did bat. This time he just played defense and indicated tomorrow he's probably off too. And then 2, the Alex Verdugo, he strikes out and it really kind of showed he's got 0 utility on this team. He's not better than your other options defensively. He's not better offensively. It feels like his days are numbered when Jurickson Profar comes back.
Yeah, look, it was an interesting move in the first place when it happened. You got a guy that's had 3 doubles in his past 4 or 5 at bats in Fairchild, and you pinch hit for him. I get it; it's the righty lefty thing, but it's also a downgrade defensively while you're winning a close game. That I don't quite understand there either. And I forget who it was on social media. I think made a good point too. If you're gonna pinch hit there after the double, go with Drake Baldwin. I mean, if you're gonna pinch hit for somebody there, because what it also did too is I think you had a chance with Ozuna getting on late where you could have used Michael Harris as a pinch runner in that game. And luckily Sean Murphy hit the grand slam, but it almost cost you a run there because a faster runner, a pinch runner for Ozuna maybe scores on the single before that. Forget who it was at this point, but they might have scored on that if you had a faster runner that you could have pinch ran for. So it's just Snicker is stuck in this idea with Verdugo and that he has to face a righty, and that anytime there's an opportunity he has to face a righty. You don't have to pinch hit for Fairchild in that situation, who's seeing the ball pretty well at the moment. It just didn't make sense. So I think Verdugo's time is probably pretty limited here for the Atlanta Braves. It's either going to be him or Fairchild, and Fairchild's the one who has the 3 doubles here lately. Yeah,
it kind of feels like it was similar to the Eddie Rosario situation. You have to save Snit from himself.
Yep.
A couple questions in the chat about Chris Sale. There's been no sort of update recently about Chris Sale, about when he's going to be back. Or Daysabel. Mark Bowman did mention the other day, I think it was on a Reddit AMA, that he's more hopeful that Jimenez will make it back for the end of the year than Daysabel Hernandez will. Wow. So there's no official news from the team, but Bowman doesn't think much about Daysabel. Same thing on Chris Sale. We just don't have any news yet as to the process of that. He's traveling with the team. He's doing rehab stuff, with them on the road, but he's not actually anywhere close to coming back. And I think the expectation, for me at least, is sometime after the All-Star break at the earliest. All right. So again, Braves win this one by the score of 6-1. Series is now tied. Finale, Ranger Suarez versus Spencer Strider tomorrow. Braves have not done well against Suarez. Strider is a guy that it feels like Philly has either been dominated by regular season or they have gotten their own against him postseason. Which version of Strider do you think we see tomorrow?
Probably somewhere in between. I'm thinking something like 5+ innings, 3 runs is probably what I'm thinking for Strider tomorrow. Would obviously love to see more than that, but I think he's definitely making some progress, but he's not back to the point where I'm just expecting a dominant Strider start. And, the Phillies, struggled offensively again, tonight. Obviously in baseball, I feel like when that happens, the team, is ready to kind of bounce back tonight, the next day. But, hopefully this is one of those finales Braves bats don't go to sleep in, but especially against Ranger Suarez, like you said, who's dominated them. But should be a good pitching matchup. As bad as Friday night was, you bounce back and win the next two and win the series. Feeling pretty good about yourselves again.
Yeah. The Bryce Harper's done well against Strider. Obviously, he's not back for this. The only other Phillies hitter that's done well is Brandon Marsh. He's 5 for 15 with 2 homers and 4 RBI. So we'll see what happens there. Again, Braves win this 6-1. We are back. That game is, by the way, 1:35 p.m. tomorrow. Standard broadcast options. We'll be here with the postcast immediately after that game is done. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been Braves Postcast.